Gather round, sit around, I got something to tell you. Have you ever heard of this program called The Loud House? It's a series where a middle child, Lincoln Loud, has to survive in a family of 10 sisters. Yeah, that show. Well, what if I told you that I found an unreleased dark episode? Well, it happened to me a few days before telling you this. It's a bit of a long story. I was surfing the web, came across this website of salvage media known as Digital Fossils. That sounds badass. It was a website that carried strange, lost pieces of media that were either phone calls, security footage, images, deleted scenes of movies, etc. Not exactly E-Bomb's world now, is it? I had an interest in strange, lost pieces of media, so I was curious enough to check out this website. The links were ordered as fossil dash, and then followed by an uppercase word or short phrase with a few numbers. These words or phrases were sometimes nonsensical and unrelated to the website entry, and sometimes they made sense. For example, fossil dog 807, fossil help 9482, and fossil don't look 370. Some of the entries on the website were slightly disturbing. For example, a recording of a cat playing with a dead bird, or a news report of a child gone missing on an abandoned playground. I don't know how the website recovered these pieces of lost media, but almost everything that it could get its hands on. However, I stayed silent about that. I didn't work on the website anyway. However, as I scrolled down after seeing some entries, I found something that caught my eye. Fossil Loud 11. That was rather interesting. It had a word that reminded me of the ones from earlier that were randomized, but it had 11 after it. It reminded me of Lincoln Loud, the same 11-year-old boy from the show I just talked about earlier. I clicked on the link and saw the description of the entry. The description said the following. There is a lost episode of The Loud House, which is titled Enough is Enough. It was meant to be the finale of the 3rd season, but was scrapped after its production was done. Chris will be planning another Season 3 finale at the moment. However, this replacement is reasonable. This episode was lost for being too disturbing and dark for the series. If you are a fan of The Loud House, we must tell you that this is no joke. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, I was curious. I wondered why would this be for a show like The Loud House to have such an episode like this. So after I downloaded it, I started the episode. When the episode started, the usual intro played. Nothing was wrong so far. However, in the end, nobody went to the couch to watch the TV. It didn't act like they were there as well, so Lily's poo wasn't present. Another thing that was wrong was that the ending logo was tainted with the color of pastel red instead of orange. The website was not joking around. There was definitely something wrong with this episode. The title card had a black background with white fog flowing across the left of it, with center text saying, "Enough is enough." The bottom bubbles below showed who made the episode as well, which was the same as the first 2 seasons. The music was a low rumbling noise. That was a little ambient. Something that you might hear in a horror video game. The episode began with the outside view of the house, as it sometimes did. The music was absent like the beginning of Brawl in the Family. It cut to Lincoln watching the television instead of playing video games like he usually does. He was just chilling. "Don't you just hate living with 10 sisters? Well, sometimes I do," he said. I saw his smile turn upside down. "But on rare occasions, I go a little too far. I wish that they would just leave me alone, but I can't hurt them. They're my siblings. I want to love them, but the things they do are like a setback for me." Lincoln here sounded a little more serious than usual. "Hey, bro," Luann said as she appeared next to Lincoln in the next shot. "What did Platypus say before leaving the bar? Put it on my bill." Lincoln frowned as she laughed. "Yes, Luann, pretty fun. Do you want to smell my flower? I'm not falling for..." Luann's flower sprayed water on Lincoln's face before he could finish what he was saying. Okay, Luann, do you want some of my banana cream pie? Luann said before slamming it on Lincoln's face. I wonder why the description said that this episode was too dark. Luann was making so many jokes that made the episode more stupid than graphic. Lincoln face-palmed in dissatisfaction. Stop, Luann. You're not funny. What do you call a boy who's completely white? A flower boy. Luann laughed for a bit, but one shot later, Lincoln slid his hand off of his face, revealing his angry eyes. Enough is enough, Lincoln said furiously as he grabbed Luann by her shoulders. Wow, nice grip, bro. You shoulder work out at the gym. Luann laughed at her really stupid joke. Then something happened. It took me back to the shot of Lincoln. It felt as if I was hit by a train. Just after Luann laughed at her little joke, Lincoln slammed her head against the wall, bruising her, knocking her out. A low, ambient tune played in the background. Lincoln gasped and stared at the crack in her head, and then at her purple, bruised, unconscious body. He looked at his hands in fear. What have I done? I've never done something like this before. He looked back at her. But this made me feel so alive. For some reason, I've never felt this good in a while. I know just what to do. It cut to black for 3 seconds, transitioning to Lori texting on her phone, possibly to Bobby. Hey, Lori, can you drive me to the comic store? Just do it yourself or get your mom, Lincoln. Lori left the room, which I assume was to go to the bathroom, and Lincoln looked at her phone when she left inside, glaring as he planned his next wipeout. One shot later, Lori was seen walking into her room when... Lincoln, let go of my phone right now! Lori was hit on the head by her phone as it broke with the shattering of glass. Lincoln walked over to her body and looked down on her. This is for smashing my VR console, teenage brat, Lincoln said with silent anger as it cut to Lori's lifeless body. Her phone was shattered with bits of glass scattered across her face, being cut across some places. She was bleeding across her face on where she was cut. I was shocked to see the middle child go on such a killing spree like this. Why was this made? I thought to myself. It cut to black yet again to change to a different scene taking place in the backyard. Hey, Lincoln, want to wrestle? Sure, why not, Lynn? I'll bet I win this time. Oh, I knew this was going to be no wrestling match, but I kept on watching to see where it would go. As Lincoln was wrestling with Lynn, he got behind her and shortly after cut to a close-up of Lynn's eyes. Come at me, bro! Lynn's anticipation was cut short when she not only widened her eyes but gagged. I knew something went wrong. The dark tune grew louder. It cut away from the close-up to show Lincoln choking his 13-year-old sister from behind. Not only that, but the animation quality changed to a style very similar to that of King of the Hill. It looked so shocking that it didn't look as cartoony as before. I watched as Lynn gripped her brother's hands to break free. It was useless for her to try to escape. It cut to Lynn's point of view as she was turned around face to face with Lincoln. This is when I felt like I was going to faint. Lincoln's face looked menacing, cold, and possessed. His eyes were bloodshot, his pupils were larger, his skin was a tad bit darker. One might say that he looked disheveled. The animation at this point went back to the normal style, but his face was still highly detailed. In Lincoln's pupils was a reflection of his choking sister, Lynn. I watched in shock as her vision went blurry, and her eyelids opened and closed. By the time she had her eyes shut, she was done. It was over for her. The gloomy music stopped. The next shot went to Lincoln sitting in the dark with Lynn's body next to him. A different low tune played. Lincoln looked at his sibling's body with a pleasured look on his face. After 30 seconds, he spoke. Sleep tight, Lynn. You're free. I got chills as he said those words. Lincoln had snapped, and he was no longer the man with a plan. He was now a corrupt soul. I wonder who's next for the axe, he wondered to himself as he looked up. With a planning smile, thoughts came to him. The video suddenly turned black and white. Lincoln pulled Lenny closer to him with a pair of scissors in his hand and glared at Lola with a bat in his hand. He was seen smashing Luna's guitar on her face and about to set Lucy on fire. It cut to black afterward. A line of white uppercase text spelling 1 week later faded in after 5 seconds. It was clear that 1 week had passed. Oh, shit. It was nighttime again when the text and the black screen faded out. Lincoln was staring at the bodies of his now dead sisters, which were now under his bed. To name a few of their fates, Lily choked on what I assume was a small toy, and Lola was cut in the face multiple times. I'm not going to get into the rest of his sisters, though. My job is done. All I need is one more. But who is it? He said, looking around. Yes, it must be me. There is something that I must do, Lincoln said as he looked down. As it cut to black for 10 seconds, Lincoln was now seen hanging from the ceiling, his back turned against the camera. I felt bewildered. All of the Loud siblings were dead. All because Lincoln had snapped. It all built up to this moment. Lincoln had to kill himself in order to join his sisters. Well, not all of the sisters. Just after a silent 12 seconds, Luann slowly got out of Lincoln's bed and panted heavily. It was a relief that she didn't die. Like I said way earlier, she was knocked out, but not dead. Her wounds were still present. She was a bit pale, and a bit more blood had dripped down her face, but not entirely. She looked at Lincoln and back to her sisters, which were now lifeless corpses. This is no joke, Luann said softly as she witnessed her first mass murder. She stood for a moment before limping outside, possibly to tell the parents what happened. Afterward, the camera panned slowly to Lincoln's hanging body. Then it cut to a black room with Luann crying. She grabbed a needle and stabbed her eye out with the needle. Then she grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed herself in the stomach. Blood was flying everywhere. Then Luann fell to the ground. It faded to black, indicating the end of the episode. The credits had an eerie ambient tune, and the background was the same white fog from the title card, black background and moving left. But it lasted a little longer. As the credits stopped, the screen went black, and an echoing high tune rang for about 12 seconds. Gave me the willies. Afterward, the episode was finally over. Questions still rang through my head. Why was this made? What happened that led Chris Savino, the creator of the show, to make this? This episode had to have something to it. I just knew it had to. I tried doing some research on this certain episode, but nothing was found on it. I went to bed after spending 25 minutes of useless research time because no other website had anything of the episode. I still had some nightmares of it. Lincoln standing there with his cold, angry, bloodshot eyes, an overly detailed face. He did nothing. He just watched me as I slept. I always turn on my lights after those nightmares happened. I didn't want him strangling me, slamming me against the wall, whatever he could do to end my life. I didn't go back to digital fossils for a week because of that episode. That didn't mean that I was done with it, though. I just hope that someday find some info about the episode, like who suggested the idea for it. However, here was the real question. How did they get away with making such an abysmal episode?